All right, so this, of course, is the biggest moment in India's space exploration. We're just moments away before the Vikram lander, in fact, begins its descent onto the surface of the moon. Remember, there have been described as what are the 15 minutes of terror. This is when the Vikram lander will slow down from a speed of 36,000 kilometers as it is hurtling through space, and it is brought down to a speed of zero. The velocity is reduced virtually to zero, and then it touches down onto the surface of the moon. My colleague Nishtita Virendra is joining us live from ISRO in Bengaluru, and my colleague Nagin Singh is joining us live from New Delhi from the Nehru Planetarium. Now, Nishtita, you've been interacting with the scientists there. They sound very confident, but the fact of the matter is, if successful, India would become only the 4th nation in the world to in fact accomplish this rare feat. What are the scientists saying? They have been carrying out many simulations over the course of the last several months in Karnataka there. How confident are they that India will be able to succeed in its very first attempt?
Well, the scientists and engineers here who are watching this live event with us feel both confident as well as nervous right now. Confident because it's not just the last few months that they have been carrying out the tests. They have planned this for years. They have carried out experiments, made elaborate plans for several years now for a successful landing on the lunar surface. But on the other hand, no one can deny the fact that these 15 minutes will be extremely crucial. At this point in time, it is being told that those 15 minutes will be from 1:40 a.m. to 1:55 a.m. Why are they important? Well, to begin with, ISRO has never attempted a landing on a foreign body, and this lunar surface can be extremely unpredictable. There might be extreme amount of dust that can corrupt the systems of the lander. You will have, there is the challenge of how you balance out the gravity as well as the thrusters. Now, for now, you have the lander moving at a speed of almost 21,600 kilometers per hour, which means that it is moving at a speed of almost 6 kilometers per second. Now, in those 15 minutes, the breakers will be applied, which is basically they will kickstart the propellers even in the front of the lander, because of which the speed will drastically reduce, and it has to come down to 7 kilometers per hour. If you can just tally that 21,600 kilometers per hour at 1:40 a.m. and 7 kilometers per hour in 1:55 a.m. and only then will it be able to land. And when it's landing, it will largely be balanced out using the thrusters as well as the gravitational force of the moon. So to balance it out, they have 4 thrusters. They also have a backup thruster on board the lander. So as of now, it seems like a foolproof plan for ISRO, but the scientists as well as the engineers here are keeping their fingers crossed, hoping that nothing goes wrong and they give India to be proud. Another moment for India to be proud is what ISRO will be giving us.
Absolutely, indeed, Nishita. And any time there is an experiment of this nature is in fact attempted, there are many simulations that are done. And, there are reports that ISRO had tried to recreate the conditions that they would encounter on the surface of the moon at Chelakere in Chitradurga in Karnataka. Have you spoken to the scientists as to how they went about recreating, the topography of the moon at Chitradurga?
When they recreate the scene on an Earth's surface, it is largely to do with the dust that will be accumulated. Repeatedly, we have scientists and engineers telling us the dust particles, the small particles on the surface of the moon could be a big factor of hampering the operations, and which is why they will take for almost 4 hours for the dust to settle, for the ramp to even open up and the rover to come out. And that is one of the reasons that the delay takes place. After the landing happens at 1:55 a.m. and then you have the rover coming out only post 5:30 a.m. That's almost a 5-hour gap. So that is one of the aspects that they try out on an Earth's surface. But something that has gone untested is how they will reduce the very pace, the high pace of the lander, and how the lander will land in a balanced manner. For it to land in a balanced manner, all 4 propellers have to work, and all all four thrusters have to work in an equal manner. Equal amount of force will have to be generated. From Earth, they will be controlling the balance in which softly it will land on the surface of the moon. But leaving nothing to chance, although the ideal speed at which it should land is about 2 meters per second, which is 7 kilometers per hour, the four legs of the lander are strong enough and are flexible enough for the lander to even land at 18 kilometers per hour. So they have taken the margin pace into consideration, but this is something that they have not been able to recreate on an Earth's surface, and that is why Dr. K. Sivan, the chairman, has truly called it 15 minutes of terror.
Absolutely, indeed. Do continue to stay on with us, Nishtita. Let's also bring in my colleague Nagin Singh, who is joining us live from New Delhi from the Nehru Planetarium. Nagin, you've been interacting with some of the youngsters and some of the space enthusiasts who have presently assembled at the Nehru Planetarium. Give us a sense of the excitement as these youngsters wait with bated breath for arguably one of the most complex moon missions that's ever been attempted.
Well, Saleh, what the planetarium has done for the viewers who have come over here and everybody, even the children, so what they're doing, that they're taking questions from these children and all the audiences, and whatever questions they have, they are answering it, that what really will happen, how Vikram will land on the moon, and what it is going to explore. So considering the questions of these people, there is every kind of question that they have, because they are not really aware that why it has been sent over there. So here we have the facility that anybody can just speak to the scientist, and they are going to tell them that what is the role of a particular machine, or all the technical aspects of this Chandrayaan-2. Of course, they are also telling us about how they are going to celebrate it, because after the successful landing, they plan to come up with more programs, because they have organized a carnival, in a sense, for tomorrow as well, where they will be interacting with audiences, children, and all the people who will be visiting at this place.
Absolutely, indeed, Nagin. And also India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is presently in Bengaluru. We are given to understand he will be at ISRO at the time when the Vikram lander in fact touches down. Nishtita, he will be watching this extraordinary moment along with 73 other kids. Give us a sense of what the program is like that's been planned out for the Prime Minister as he interacts with the kids there.
Well, he will arrive just a few minutes before the landing event is expected to take place. He's expected to come in at around 1 a.m. and 1:30. You will have the program beginning. You will have the landing that will be initiated by the operation staff here. After which, once the landing is over, you have a gap of almost 4 to 5 hours. We are expecting some sort of an interaction between the Prime Minister and the students as well as the scientists. Once the rover emerges out of the lander and everything goes as per plan, and India has successfully managed to land on the surface of the moon and has only become the 4th country to do so, then the Prime Minister might also address the nation, is what is being expected. So this is the sequence of events that we're expecting today. We spoke to a few of the students who are part of this event, the 73 students who will be here, who are already here in fact, and they said that they have spoken to their family and friends, and they have prepared some questions for the Prime Minister, and many of them seem very excited about being part of this historic moment for India and even for the world.
Absolutely, indeed. It is the next frontier in space that India is trying to conquer. Now, Nishtita, you've been speaking also to the ISRO chairman, Mr. K. Sivan. Now, the initial start off of the mission that had to be delayed. Originally, Chandrayaan-2 was supposed to take off on the 14th of July. That did not happen, so the launch was delayed by about a week. So it started off with a hitch. Now, what ISRO is attempting here is arguably one of the most complex maneuvers that is done. Now, India is doing it for the first time. There are other countries that have done it before. But even though they've done it before, this is still an extremely difficult task for them. How confident does the ISRO chairman sound that India will be able to successfully land, soft land, the Chandrayaan-2's lander on the surface of the moon?
Well, the chairman has spoken to the media on multiple occasions in the run-up to the Chandrayaan-2 mission, and every single time he has stressed on the importance of those 15 minutes, because those 15 minutes will be a brand new experience for the scientists of ISRO, for India, as well as for the world. Now, this experience is new, of course, because of the soft landing, but there are two crucial maneuvers in the Chandrayaan-2 mission. One is the lunar orbit insertion. Now, that was successfully done on the 20th of August. But this is something that was already done by ISRO in Chandrayaan-1. Basically, on the 14th of August, you put the lander, the Chandrayaan-2 mission on the way to the lunar orbit. You put it in the lunar transfer trajectory, and a week later, on the 20th of August, it was inserted into the lunar orbit. After which, slowly it made its way closer and closer to the moon's surface. And on the 2nd of September, you had the orbiter successfully part away from the lander, and the lander is moving closer to the surface. As of now, the lander is in an orbit that is at 35 kilometers by 100 kilometers. At the closest distance, it is 35 kilometers from the surface of the Earth. At 30 kilometers is when the descent to on the surface of on the lunar surface, I beg your pardon, begins. Right. When it's 30 kilometers closer to the lunar surface, and this it will be closest to the south pole of the moon. So these 15 minutes that will start from 30 kilometers to the landing is that 15 minutes that will be crucial, and none of the members of ISRO can stop harping about it, is that they're very happy that everything has gone on glitch-free. Of course, as you rightly mentioned, there was a delay in the beginning, there was a one-week delay, but the mission dates have not been compromised on. Even when the previous date of July 14th was kept, it was still supposed to land on the lunar surface on the 7th of September, and that has not been changed, and that is a huge achievement for ISRO. Everything has gone as per plan. All the maneuvers have been done in a smooth and successful manner, and the final landing maneuver is what has got everyone on tenterhooks right now.
Absolutely, indeed. The whole nation is on tenterhooks. Do continue to stay on to this, Nishtita, and also Nagain Singh, because this is, of course, a moment to remember as India watches with bated breath. Well, arguably, one of the most complex missions that has been attempted. This is what is going to unfold over the course of the next few minutes. It will start at about 1:40 a.m. This is when the lander that is hurtling through space at a speed of 36,000 kilometers per hour. This will be brought down virtually to zero in a span of 15 minutes. Imagine that, 36,000 kilometers per hour to a velocity of zero in 15 minutes, as, of course, the lander attempts to touch down, a soft landing onto the surface of the moon. The clock is ticking. This is the moment that has been described as the 15 minutes of terror by the ISRO chairman. Now, this is India's second mission to the moon, and it is all set to land in the wee hours of this morning. Now, the Chandrayaan-2 Vikram lander will, of course, attempt this soft landing in a few moments from now. It will be carried out by at least about 8 equipment that are on board in an extremely coordinated manner. Now, here are the different stages of the journey to the moon's polar region. Take a look. All right, so this is arguably the most complex mission that has been attempted by ISRO. Now, the race to the moon, of course, goes a long way back and has seen many countries compete with each other over the years. And next report takes a look at the many global lunar missions. Take a look.
India is on its way to making history. Chandrayaan-2 will explore the southern part of the moon, making India the first country to do so. The spacecraft heads for a challenging soft landing on the south pole of the moon, territory that has never been visited by any spacecraft. The race to the moon has seen several countries competing with each other. As a result of the Cold War with the US, the USSR carried out space explorations with the aim of getting ahead of the Americans. Lunar-2 of the Soviet Union was the first spacecraft to reach the surface of the moon successfully on the 13th of September 1959. The United States is the only country that has ever put people on the moon. NASA carried out the famous moon landing that took the first man to the moon, Neil Armstrong, in 1969. Since then, the US has launched further probes to the moon, with the latest one on the 7th of September 2013. China launched its first lunar orbiter called Chang'e-1 in 2007. Its second orbiter, Chang'e-3, managed to successfully land a rover on the surface of the moon. India carried out its first successful lunar mission, Chandrayaan-1, in 2008, which was a grand success. Chandrayaan-2, the sequel to Chandrayaan-1, is all set to be ISRO's most complex mission ever. Bureau Report, Wion, World is One.
All right, so it is not just India that is there. There are several other nations that have attempted these very complex missions before. There is United States, the erstwhile Soviet Union and now Russia, and also China, who have successfully managed to soft land on the surface of the moon. But one of the reasons as to why India's space missions stand out and why Chandrayaan-2 and earlier the mission to Mars also stood out is how economical all of these missions tend to be, where India is able to make these missions more economical almost by a factor of 10. Consider this, the entire mission to the moon costs about 978 crores. That is the amount of money that has been spent to send this mission to the moon. And a Hollywood movie like Interstellar actually has a bigger budget than this. And my colleague Nishtita Virendra, who's getting us the updates from Bengaluru. Nishtita, if I can bring you in on this, one of the reasons as to why India's space missions are being looked at with such close scrutiny from across the world is the fact that we are able to do it not just most accurately, we're able to pull off these complex missions in our very first attempt, but also the fact that it has made space exploration so much more cheaper.
Absolutely. India has grabbed the world's attention with Chandrayaan-1, with Mangalyaan and now Chandrayaan-2. While any of the other space agencies spend billions of dollars, we have a Chandrayaan-2 mission where India is attempting to soft land on the south polar region of the moon, which is costing just about 1,000 crore rupees. We are still in millions. You also had Chandrayaan-1, which costed about 312 crore rupees, which was a fraction of what most Hollywood movies cost that are based on space. As you rightly mentioned, Interstellar is a very good example. So that is one of the reasons that ISRO wants to put this message out there. ISRO wants to say that it is not just a rocket manufacturing agency that can put up, that can take the payloads, that can just be a transporter for agencies like NASA, but it can also come up with innovation that are economical, that do not have to be burden on the citizens of the country, as well as achieve targets that no other country has managed to do so. If ISRO manages to land near the southern polar region of the moon, then it will be the first country to do so. If ISRO can bring in details about the water particles, about the water molecules that are present on the lunar surface, where it is present, what are the different compositions of minerals that are on the lunar surface, is there any possibility to mine it? Several business agencies, business conglomerates in US have already started exploring the possibility of mining and manufacturing in space. So are we looking at ISRO probably taking the first step for all of them, all of it for a fraction of the cost? So definitely it is not just India that is looking to ISRO, it is not just India that is looking towards Chandrayaan-2, but the world over are amazed as to how ISRO is able to do it in a fraction of the cost that the other agencies do it.
Absolutely indeed, Nishtita. Do continue to stay on with this, because this of course is something that is being watched around the world and very, very closely. Because remember, one of the big stumbling blocks that a lot of people in fact say is the funding that is in fact given for these space missions. And that is one of the fundamental reasons as to why ISRO's successful missions are being looked at so very closely, not just for the fact that they are so accurate and precise in the tasks that they have performed as a part of the missions, but also for being the most economical moon missions and space missions in the world. So the question that everyone is asking is, what makes India's space exploration missions so economical? This report tells you more.
India created history on the 14th of November 2008. The Moon Impact Probe separated from Chandrayaan and in a controlled manner struck the South Pole of the Moon. With this, India became just the fourth nation to accomplish this rare feat. But what made everyone sit up and take notice was the cost-effectiveness of India's moon mission. From its conceptualization till its execution, Chandrayaan-1 is estimated to have cost Rs 450 crore or about $80 million. This amounted to just 4% of ISRO's entire budget. In comparison, the Selene moon mission by Japan in 2007 had cost a whopping $480 million, while China's Chang'e-1 mission to the moon had cost $180 million. But this was just the beginning. When India sent its Mars orbiter mission or Mangalyaan in 2013, the entire project was accomplished on a budget of just $74 million. Compared with other nations involved in space explorations, this was staggeringly cheap. NASA's Maven Mars mission had a budget of a whopping $671 million, while the Hollywood film Gravity was made with a budget of $100 million. In the case of Chandrayaan-2, the estimated budget is Rs 978 crore, which is about $142 million. In contrast, the Hollywood film Interstellar had a budget of $165 million and China's Chang'e-4 mission had a budget of a whopping $840 million. So how has India managed to keep the costs so low? This happened due to the indigenization of space technology. Locally manufactured components have been prioritized over expensive foreign imports. Skilled human resource development over decades, with an emphasis on technical education, has ensured that there is no dearth of scientists and researchers. The biggest stumbling factor in space exploration has been the crippling costs associated with space technologies. And India has demonstrated that it can economize the costs almost by a factor of 10. Bureau Report, Wion, World is One.
All right, now that is precisely the reason as to why the rest of the world is so enthusiastic about India's space missions. And one of the individuals who has, of course, tweeted about India's mission to the moon is Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, who has stated, and I quote him here, "Wishing India all the luck for Chandrayaan-2." Now, this is the tweet that's been put out by Jeff Bezos, rooting for Team India. Good luck, India, Chandrayaan-2. Now remember, Jeff Bezos is also the man who is in the business of space. He has got his company called Blue Origin that is also into space exploration, and he, I am pretty certain, is going to be awake through the day, because in the United States is of course the day, and will be watching as to what happens as India's Chandrayaan-2 attempts to soft land on the moon.